I was at the vet clinic the other day with Nigel, and he was being, well, perfect, of course, because he's Nigel, right? If anybody knows me, Nigel's the best. And he was lying down on the floor. We were waiting our turn. And was he lying in the center of the floor? Yes. But I mean, honestly, a dog like Nigel deserves to be the center of attention. But my point is this, he was lying down. He was being really, really good. Despite, the regular vet noises that's going on, he was just hanging out there being a really, really good dog. And then another customer came in, and as she came in, she looked at Nigel and she started just going on and on and on about how beautiful he was. Oh my goodness, he's so gorgeous. And I love Newfies and all of that stuff. And she's making such a big show of it. And she kept going on and on and on and on, looking back at him until finally, and this may sound a little anthropomorphic, I realize, but finally, I feel like Nigel felt obligated to get up and go see her. And, to which then she, of course, was petting him and going on and on and on. And as I was sitting here watching this, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit annoyed because, as I mentioned, he was being good, right? He wasn't bothering anybody. He was being a good boy. And then I realized too, and I said this to Mark in the car, I was like, that show, all that talk about how beautiful he was, that really actually wasn't about Nigel. That was just her way of announcing to the world how much she loves dogs. Like it was all about her and how she's so good with dogs. And I thought, you know what, like, lady, come on, man, read the room. Like, you're in a vet clinic. We all love dogs. Like, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody here in the back. I mean, maybe there was a guy in the back corner with his cat that was like, I hate dogs. But generally speaking, you're with vet techs and vets and other dog lovers. Like, we all love dogs. You don't need to put on such a show and force a dog to get up and come and see you, right? And so I wanted to share that today because I think it goes towards the topic today that I want to talk about. One of my favorite games. Is it a game? Maybe not. My favorite exercise is one of the things that I do a lot with my dogs. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 reasons why you should be quiet and how being quiet can benefit not only you, your dog, but also your relationship. We're going to talk about that today. Let's get into it. Are you worried that your fearful dog may hurt someone or something else? Do you have to prepare just to take a walk around the block? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I too had that dog. The one that you could only walk at nighttime when no one else was around. And I felt ashamed, and oh gosh, I wish that people could just see the dog that I know and love. I wanted the confidence to be able to walk my dog and not have to worry about who or what was around the corner. And I kept telling myself that if I just keep doing obedience drills and distracting with treats, that things would get better. Until I found the secret. Fear is not something that you can train out of a dog. In this podcast, you will find tips to help build your dog's confidence naturally, communication and understanding to foster that trust, and how to address those fear-based behaviors effectively so that you can enjoy a stress-free life with your dog. So if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners, grab your notebook, and let's get to it. Hello, 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 and welcome. It is Tracy. This is Beyond Obedience. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. Before I get started, I want to just give a shout out to everybody who has sent me messages and sent their condolences over our recent loss of an incredible dog, Echo. And I really do want you to know that your words matter. I know all of my fellow dog lovers know the pain that comes with losing our dogs. They never live long enough. And this is a very, very hard time. And I appreciate it. I don't want to get too much into it because I'll start crying again. So, but let's get into today and talk about this particular exercise, the Be Quiet game. If you tried Be With 2 weeks ago. Let me know how that was. Let me know if you tried that exercise. Be with and be quiet kind of go hand in hand. And it's something that I not only ask most of my clients to do, but certainly anybody that's in relationship remedy knows the benefit of this powerful little exercise. And hey, if you did do the Be With exercise and you're like, how do I share that experience with you, Tracy? I'll tell you how. You make sure that you are in the Facebook group, the Living Beyond Obedience Facebook group. Go to Facebook and just search up Living Beyond Obedience. You'll find it there. Become a member there over in that community. You can share pictures. Oh my gosh, share pictures. Share pictures of your dog. Share your experiences. You can ask questions over there. Lots of fun stuff happening over there. As well as if you're like, Facebook's not my jam, Tracy. I get it. I totally get it. And if that's the case, then you can also make sure you're part of the Canine Chronicles. That's our pen pal, being pen pals with me. You just go to beyondobedience.ca. You're going to hang on the page for a second. You're going to wait for a little menu that pops up that says, hey, do you want to be part of the Canine Chronicles? You're going to give your name, your email address, and that's it. Easy peasy. We're now pen pals. You can reach out to me that way as well. Plus, added bonus for those of you that are pen pals with me, you guys will get first access, first rights to all of the stuff coming up. There's the revamp of the Fearful Dog is coming up soon. I'm going to be doing a Zoom with the multi-dog household for anybody who's interested in that. And if you're on that list, you will get first rights to that. So because that will be limited. There'll be a limited number of seats for that. So you want to make sure you're there. Just make sure you're there. That's the easiest and best way for us to stay connected because social media can be fickle. Facebook one day could decide that I have, done something against standards, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. The point is we can always be pen pals. All right, let's get to it. 3 reasons why you should be quiet and how it's going to help not only you, it's going to help your dog, but it's also going to help your relationship. Here's the first reason for being quiet. Okay. And I've already alluded to this before in our barking series, but I'm going to mention it again. I'm going to mention it because when we are chatty with our dogs, I think we forget sometimes that dogs are the great mimickers, right? They spend the majority of their time analyzing us, our mannerisms. They know us down to the slightest little muscle twitch, right? They know our feelings and all of that good stuff because they analyze us, but they're also mimickers, right? They definitely do a monkey see, monkey do kind of a thing. And I have met more than a few dogs that I swear the reason why they are so barky, so chatty is because they're really mimicking back what their owners are doing to them. So if you are somebody that is like, I would just like to have a nice, calm, peaceful house, one of the ways that you can start to do that is start to be quieter with your dog. Don't rely so heavily on your verbal communication with your dog. Try being quiet to see if that starts to sort of add a level of calm into your world, right? It's something that we say, be what you want the dog to be. So if you want your dog to be quiet, you yourself also have to be quiet. That's number 1, okay? Number 2, this is a great reason to be quiet. It's one of my favorite reasons to be quiet. When you are quiet with your dog, it actually helps to build focus. And when matched with other sort of games, focus and engagement naturally with you. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have taken any sort of obedience classes or whatnot, sometimes in those classes, they'll tell you and ask you to try to get a watch me command or a look at me command. And you do that usually by bribing the dog with food. You take food out and you get their attention and then you bring it up to your eyeballs and you say like, look at me or watch me or whatever the command you want. And then when the dog makes eye contact, you give them a reward. Good for you. Good job. And they get that reward. And I'm not saying this is wrong, by the way. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's normally how we do it. But if you practice being quiet with your dog, it forces your dog to have to pay attention to you by, you guessed it, looking at you, right? Like, I know, like mind blown. Mind blown. Okay, let's follow this all the way through though. It literally it forces the dog to have to pay attention to you when you stop talking to them because like, hey, we know that dogs eventually learn to tune us out. We are quite different species, us and dogs, right? We are, hand-eye dominant. Dogs are mouth-nose dominant. Like we like to chat a lot and grab things with our hands. They don't really do a lot of chat unless you have like, huskies and stuff like that. They like to chat, and chihuahuas maybe. But you get my point. My point is it's not their go-to communication to utilize vocal. Okay? So when we start chatting to them so much, they learn to tune us out. So by being quiet, your dog is now forced to be like, what's she doing? What's going on? And this is the fun part. And this really is the fun part. Okay. I say it helps also build engagement with you. Here's the fun things that I like to do with my dogs while being quiet. If I'm out with the dogs in a walk, we're in the woods, and my dogs kind of wander off over there, I'll quietly sort of sneak away a little bit and I'll just rustle some leaves over here. And my dogs are like, what's she doing over there? And when they come over, they'll kind of look at it. And then I'll kind of go to a different place. And I'm building this kind of an intrigue and engagement with them by being very, very quiet and making and doing intriguing things. Now, sometimes, and I will say, I do sometimes use food. I'll use treats or food or whatnot, and I'll go around the corner and then I'll rustle some leaves and then I will put a little bit of treats in there and I'll kind of rustle there when the dog comes over and they sort of like, what are you doing over there? Then they find treats. They're like, oh my gosh, we found treats together. And then we have like a little celebration and then we'll go do something else. All of that quiet little wrestling and engagement stuff literally gives you a dog that is, they don't want to take their eyes off you because what's she going to do next? Like, who knows, right? So this is why I love this game. I'm quiet and it forces the dog to have to pay attention to me. Okay, so that's number 2, builds engagement and focus naturally. And then finally, number 3, and this came up recently in our relationship remedy program. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to admit, I hadn't really thought about this before. And it was one of the experts that's in relationship remedy with us. And we were in, let me sort of back up. In this particular example, we have this incredible owner that has a dog, and she's done all sorts of really great work with her. She's got she plays fun games with her and gets has all sorts of social, fabulous. But what was fascinating was during the Find It game. So this is where the owner would go in and put the a toy or something somewhere. She'd have her dog wait out of sight, and then she would go and hide a toy, and then she would play this Find It game. And interestingly, while the dog was trying in the process of finding it, her owner kept on repeating the word like, find it, find it, find it, find it, find it. And the dog missed it numerous times, actually. There were like a couple of times where she went right over the toy and missed it completely. And admittingly, the owner assumed she found it, went, hey, you found it, and then realized that she didn't find it, and then she'd go back to saying, find it again. And one of the incredible experts in relationship remedy with me, she actually pointed out, she said, I really truly believe that because of all the talking that's happening, this particular dog has learned to almost turn off their own senses to find the toy, because she wasn't using her nose at all to find the toy. She was relying on the verbal cues that her owner was giving her. So it was actually making her lazy. And I was like, when we replayed the videos, I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. She's just listening to the verbal cues and not relying on her own stuff. And in some way, I think we're kind of robbing the dog then of being able to not only accomplish that and achieve that goal on her own merits, and then have the celebration of that. So so that was really fascinating. So that was the other thing. Basically, is talking so much can actually, create a dog that relies solely on your verbal cues and not, not relying on their own senses to be able to complete tasks. Okay, so that is the 3 reasons why you should be quiet. Let's recap that quickly. Number 1, it helps reduce barking and creates a nice calm household for you. You have to be what you want the dog to be. Number 2 was builds focus and engagement naturally. By being quiet, we actually force the dog to have to pay attention to us, which is great. And number 3, not allowing the dog to rely on their own senses, right? Where they get dependent upon our verbal cues rather than using the senses that they have. So I hope that helps. I wanted to just add one last sort of statement about being quiet. And it's this idea that when you are talking, you're not listening. And that's true for communication for people, but it also applies to communication with our dog. When we talk so much, we actually lose our ability to listen to what our dogs are saying. And our dogs are talking to us all the time. They're offering up communication all of the time. And I think a lot of times we tend to talk over them and we don't necessarily hear what it is that they're saying. So this week, here is your challenge, if you dare accept it. I want you to try, if you will, the be quiet game. Now, first and foremost, I have to always say this. You obviously do this in a controlled environment, like your home or a fenced-in backyard. Please do not take your dog off leash to the park and then be like, oh, how do I get him to come back without talking to him? I want you to just sort of do this in an enclosed area in the privacy of your home and whatnot. Just be quiet for a little bit and see what happens. You can ask your dog or communicate agreements or disagreements throughout the day by either, well, honestly, you can agree just by putting a smile on your face, and you can disagree by, scowling. In most cases, dogs become very, very good at reading us that way. But if your dog is new to this and to the be quiet game, you can maybe snap and point. You can do an kind of a thing to say no. But eventually, I'm telling you, you will get, if you practice be quiet a lot, you will get to the point where they will read your body. They'll read your facial expression, right? My dogs know when I look at them if they're like, that wasn't right. I should do that. That's intent, right? They will read that very well. People who have done this exercise, and I get pretty much everybody to do this exercise, but people who have done this exercise in the past have come back and said to me, it was like the dog was reading my mind. And the reality of it is they are. I mean, they're not reading your mind. They're reading the truth. They're reading your truth, right? They're reading your energy, your intent, your body language. And it is, in fact, your truth. Quite often, our words contradict what our body and our intent is saying, which causes great confusion for the dogs. So when you practice being quiet, you're practicing, one, speaking their language, and you're also getting them to start to tune back into their language to be able to hear and see your truth and not hear your words, if that makes sense. Okay, I think that's it for this week. Thank you very much for everybody who joined me today. Again, thank you for all of everybody who sent me the kind words. And what else do I want to say before I go? Oh, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, can you please do me a favor, especially if you're Canadian, fellow Canadians? I'm begging you here. I need you guys, if you're on Apple, to just give me some more Apple reviews. I have many over in Apple USA, but not in Canada. And I'm like, what's happening with my Canadian friends? Just go to Apple. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give me a 5-star review. Give me a written review. That would be great. It really, truly does help push the show out to more and more users and dog lovers like you. And if you're on Spotify, you can leave me a message there. As always, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a great week, everybody, and I'll talk to you all next week. Bye for now.